The inner cities of our country have been run by the Democratic Party for more than 50 years. Their policies have produced only poverty, joblessness, failing schools, and broken homes. It's time to hold Democratic politicians accountable for what they have done to these communities. At what point do we say enough?
Everything in Chicago is controlled by the Democratic Party. Everything in my community is controlled by black Democrats. There is no Tea Party in my community. There is no Republicans in my community. So they can't blame Republicans. They can't blame Tea Party.
It's time to hold failed leaders accountable for their results, not just their empty words over and over again. Look at what the Democratic Party has done to the city as an example, and there are many others, of Detroit. If you keep voting for the same people, you will keep getting the same, exactly the same result. My administration will go to work for you as no one has ever done before. We will work.
Does the black community want jobs?
The black community need jobs. We need them, we want them, and it's a matter of life and death to us.
It's time to get our country back to work, and that includes an all-out effort to help young African Americans get the good-paying jobs that they deserve. We will bring back jobs. We will work. By contrast, the one thing every item in Hillary Clinton's agenda has in common is that it takes jobs and opportunities away from African American workers. It takes jobs away from all workers because your companies are leaving Michigan. Your companies are leaving every single state in our union. They're going to Mexico. They're going everywhere but here. Hillary Clinton supports open borders, which means many things, but it means people pour in and they take your jobs. Whether you like it or don't like it, they take your jobs.
What kind of support do you think that you're getting from the president, being from Chicago?
Well, right now, I haven't seen that much support from the president as far as these communities are concerned. What I've seen is he's put his support overseas. Well, the same support he's putting overseas, he should put here in this neighborhood because we are hurting too.
We will invest a portion of the money saved in a jobs program for inner city youth. The African American community has given so much to this country. They fought and died in every war since the Revolution. They've lifted up the conscience of our nation in the long march towards civil rights. They've sacrificed so much for the national good, yet nearly 4 in 10 African American children still live in poverty, and 58%, as I said, of young African Americans are not working. They cannot find a job. We must do better as a country. I refuse to believe that the future must be like the past. It won't be. Our future is going to be a great future for everyone, for everyone. In a Trump administration, all workers of all colors will get priority for jobs in their own country, which is about time. I want higher wages for African Americans, for Hispanic Americans, and for all Americans. We want higher wages. No group in America has been more harmed by Hillary Clinton's policies than African Americans. No group. No group. If Hillary Clinton's goal was to inflict pain on the African American community, she could not have done a better job. It's a disgrace. Her fierce opposition to school choice. You need choice. You have to get your children into good schools. You do that through competition. You need choice. Her plan to massively raise taxes on small business and everyone. $1.3 trillion tax increase, whereas I'm cutting taxes very substantially for business and for the middle class. Her tremendous opposition to American energy. The opposition is fierce. And her record of giving our jobs away to many, many other countries. America must reject the bigotry of Hillary Clinton, who sees communities of color only as votes, not as human beings worthy of a better future. Hillary Clinton would rather provide a job to a refugee from overseas than to give that job to unemployed African American youth in cities like Detroit who have become refugees in their own country. 40% of Detroit's residents, 40%, live in poverty. Half of all Detroit residents do not work and cannot work and can't get a job. Detroit tops the list of most dangerous cities in terms of violent crime. Number one. This is the legacy of the Democratic politicians who have run this city. This is the result of the policy agenda embraced by crooked Hillary Clinton.
What about the black family? What about the American family? I tell you that the liberal agenda is not the black agenda. It is not the family agenda, and it's not the American agenda.
The only way to change results is to change leadership. We can never fix our problems by relying on the same politicians who created our problems in the first place. A new future requires brand new leadership. Look how much African American communities have suffered under Democratic control.
Democrats have been in control of this community for about 40 years.
Right.
And my question to you is, do you feel that it's the policies of the party have helped this community or hurt this community?
It has hurt this community because they feel like that they can just take us for granted and that we're just going to vote Democratic anyway. But if there was a Republican who was out here doing what I feel he should be doing, I would vote for him.
President's policies failing the black community or helping?
It's failing. It's failing. It's failing. I mean, I'll pray about it, and in whatever way God leads me to that person that's going to help, that's the person that I will vote for.
We're not happy with what's going on. And the only way we get to the bottom of this is that we take a step back and we say that we're undecided at this point. We're undecided because our agenda has not been met on, has not been adhered to. And it's almost as if it's just saying, even though you got nothing, even though nobody has addressed your issues, just go with them anyway. And we say no.
To those I say the following. What do you have to lose by trying something new like Trump? What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs. 58% of your youth is unemployed. What the hell do you have to lose? And at the end of 4 years, I guarantee you, I will produce for the inner cities, and I will produce for the African Americans. And the Democrats will not produce, and all they've done is taken advantage of your vote. That's all they've done. And once the election's over, they go back to their palaces in Washington, and you know what? They do nothing for you. Just remember it. So you have nothing to lose.
You may have heard Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump's remarks about the current situation within the black community and in this country, and why, as a group, they should vote for him. How dare he tell them how terrible their lives are and everything like that? They were offended for the black community. What was your reaction?
You can't be offended because in the black community, especially in the inner city, when you look at Los Angeles, we look at Detroit, you look at Chicago, things aren't going that well. Now, the one thing about Donald Trump, you got to remember, he's running as Donald Trump. He's not really running as a Republican. He's not really running as a Democrat. He's exposing the fact that the Democrat Party and the Republican Party are nothing more than private clubs. As long as we understand that and understand what's going on, we should be able to vote for Donald Trump. He is not saying to the black community, vote for a Republican. He is saying, vote for Donald Trump, because if you want something different, if you want to see some type of change in your life, because we have not seen change. White people in America have not seen change. Black people in America have not seen change. Hispanics have not seen change. No one has seen any type of change with the politicians that we've been sending down to Washington, D.C. every year, day in and day out. As long as we keep doing the same old thing over and over again, nothing's going to happen. And so we're always frustrated. If you look at the black community, again, especially Chicago, unemployment is at 80% for our black youth, and we have death that's going, we're getting, what, murders are out of control, the same here in Los Angeles. So, again, I didn't feel any offense when he said that. Are black people having issues? Well, everybody's having issues in this country. Everyone is hurting. And the one thing that I hope that we start to realize in America is that we're not just black, we're not just white, we are one country.
33% of black Americans have fallen for the same rules, and 28% of the Latino community has believed the lie that the government can take care of you from the cradle to the grave. All the while losing their humanity. So when Trump talks about the lies that the Democrat Party has told, and the failed policies, both in economics, education, and crime, your heart should be stirred with passion and strength to do something about it. We pranced around in our arrogance. We have pranced around in our arrogance, believing that just maybe something will happen without us doing anything. Just not the case. With the growing population of Hispanics and the decline of the black populace, Jim Crow laws, like the Clintons' war on drugs, has incarcerated millions of black men. Has left millions of women without husbands, millions of children fatherless. The reason why 1.5 million black men are not in our communities is because of the war on drugs. That's the Democrats' full-out assault against the black man. It is their emasculation of everything that the culture of black stand for. They have been emasculated, an entire culture. What will we do about it? So let me tell you this. If you come to this rally thinking that it's a revival, this is not a revival. This is a place where you get armed up to fight. So when Trump starts talking about going into the inner city communities and changing the rhetoric, when he talks about going into the inner city communities and offering a hand up instead of a hand out, I can't help but listen and know that it's the truth. So then we must engage. We must engage in the areas of education by offering charter schools and academies to teach our children. We must engage. We must engage in the area of economics by empowering entrepreneurs, not to be job seekers, but job creators. We must engage. We must engage in the areas of crime to make sure that we are not pulling men from homes. We must engage. 94% of black Americans vote Democrat. And half a century and to no avail. If you believe that they are sleeping, you are sadly mistaken. There will be no greater time than now for us to go into these communities and teach them freedom and economic independence. So now you stand at the precipice of change, and times like these are monumental. We must not allow people to fail. We must not allow the return of slavery. We must prove President Johnson wrong. He thought that the black community would sell their birthright for a bowl of soup. For 200 years, he was sadly mistaken. So let's send a message from Texas to all of America that this is the party of Abraham Lincoln, and we will not be divided. Trump, 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 Trump. God bless Texas. God bless America. And God bless you all. Thank you.